Being a linebacker is not an easy task. Only the strongest and the most brutal players get to be one, who never turn down head-to-head contact. Today's list recounts the hardest hitting linebackers in NFL history. Starting off with Mike Singletary, who was a full-on tackling machine. He was all about toughness, desire, and leadership. Singletary would patrol the field with wide-eyed passion. With his intense expressions, even the greatest would get intimidated. Like Hall of Fame running back Eric Dickerson, who thought this guy was going to kill somebody. But Singletary actually played under control. He said his eyes got big because he was trying to read the offense, and knowing what was coming allowed him to hit people hard. Later, he got the nickname Samurai Mike. The Bears knew what they had in Singletary from the very beginning, because in week 10 of his rookie season, when the Bears played the Chiefs, Singletary was assigned to stop one of the top running backs in the NFL, Joe Delaney. And he didn't just stop Delaney, he destroyed him. Teammate Dan Hampton said that sounded like a gunshot because Mike squared him up and knocked the living hell out of him. Singletary is a legend of the NFC North, which during his time was known as the NFC Central. Next is Patrick Willis, a guy who could have been higher on this list had he played longer. But despite having an injury-shortened career and the time that he was on the field, he absolutely wrecked guys. In 2007, as a rookie on the 49ers, he led the NFL in tackles. Then in 2009, he did it again, but he wasn't satisfied with just that. In a 2009 game against the Jets, Willis was blocked to the ground late in the second half. So when he spotted receiver Brad Smith running across the middle, he was ready to get revenge. Just as Smith was being tackled from behind, Willis delivered a ferocious hit. A hit folded Smith's upper body backward, knocking him out of the game. Ever seen a player hitting an opponent so hard his mouthpiece comes out, which is what Willis did to Giants fullback Henry Hynowski in the 2011 NFC title game. Willis' special ability as a tackler helped him become a 5-time All-Pro and Hall of Famer in just 8 seasons. It's only right we now mention one of the founding fathers, Ray Nitschke, who was a bruiser in the 1960s. His nickname was simply Wild Man for obvious reasons, and no one from the Bears, Vikings, or Lions was safe when they faced him. He tried to break his opponent's will, one hit at a time. The Packers built a legendary defense in the 60s with Ray as the unquestioned leader. Nitschke only knew one way to play, and that was all out. That meant he was a terror on the practice field too. He would smash opponents to pieces, so to speak. And that's what exactly Junior Seau did for 20 years in the NFL. He was fearless against blockers and ball carriers at the point of attack. In 1991, the Chargers were playing the Seahawks. Seattle's Tommy King called a long pass and then tried to run for more yards when a hustling Seau caught up to him. He went limp once I hit him, Seau said. A few years before he left the game, he knew his post-playing days would be rough. When we were 50 to 40 years old, we probably won't be able to walk, he said. And despite that, he always played with fearlessness and passion, which made him one of the most well-respected players to ever exist. Speaking of respect, Bill Romanowski didn't receive much from his colleagues around the league because of his despicable actions, like spitting on J.J. Stokes' face, breaking Kerry Collins' jaw, and more cheap shots that we can't even count. But that doesn't mean he wasn't a force when he was between the lines. In the 1998 AFC Championship game, he rocked Jets running back Curtis Martin in the open field. How about in a 1996 game when he put the Vikings' Leroy Horde to sleep, and he had no mercy on quarterbacks either, like when he decked Chris Chandler in Super Bowl 33. A lot of times, what really matters is how hard you hit them, Romanowski said. He claims that his career reached a turning point when 49ers teammate Ronnie Lott called him out for being soft. Romanowski took that personally, and from that point on, he played with an edge. He was going to hit everyone. But who could forget about Lawrence Taylor? His speed, power, and his insane mentality made him unblockable. Taylor was like a missile. Once he was locked on his target, he almost always brought the pain with him. And normally, his target was the other team's quarterback. Like former Eagles quarterback Ron Jaworski, Taylor made 12.5 sacks against Jaworski alone and had held nothing back on those hits. Unfortunately, one QB was never able to play again. In 1985, Taylor flew off the edge, wrapping up Washington's quarterback Joe Theismann in the backfield and snapped Theismann's leg right in two. An injury so brutal that Taylor himself refuses to ever watch the replay. But he played like he meant it, leading the Giants to 2 Super Bowl victories as well as 8 Pro Bowl nods and an MVP for himself. His actions made him look like a villain, if we're being honest. James Harrison was also accustomed to being called a villain as well. Harrison had a mean streak and he channeled a lot of rage, starting with his rough childhood all the way to being undrafted out of college, then getting cut 4 times, then not starting until he was 29. Back in 2007, Harrison was playing on defense and special teams in a Monday night game against the Ravens when he jacked up Ed Reed on a punt return, forcing a fumble. It was part of a huge night for Harrison where he had 3.5 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 10 tackles. After that, he was officially a star. In a 2010 game against the rival Browns, he hit Josh Cribbs so badly, he put the crown of his helmet right into the side of his head. At the time, the league was trying to make the game safer, so they decided to punish Harrison. Since he was deemed a repeat offender, they fined him $75,000. Harrison responded by saying, "If I had known they were going to fine me $75,000, I would have tried to kill him." There was one other player who was on the level as James Harrison. We're talking about Ray Lewis. Whenever he was around the ball, he always brought the punishment. Rashard Mendenhall found out the hard way in 2008. He wanted to run over Lewis to prove himself. He took the chance and had to leave the field broken. Mendenhall broke his scapula and missed the rest of the season. Legendary quarterback Michael Vick said, "I've only been afraid to play against one player in all my years of football, and that one player was Ray Lewis." Lewis is still the NFL's all-time solo tackler with 1,568 and combined tackler with 2,059 tackles. So he left a mark on many players over the year, and I'm sure Vic isn't the only one who feels that way. But only one player struck fear in the hearts of his opponents more than any other players, and that was Chicago Bears legend Dick Butkus. He was nicknamed the Animal because of the way he mauled opponents. In fact, former Packers running back MacArthur Lane once said, "I'd sooner go one-on-one with the grizzly bear than Butkus. I pray that I can get up every time Butkus hit me." For 9 seasons, he was the ultimate intimidator. He was the roughest of them all and also one hell of a tackler. In 1971, he delivered one of the most violent shots, a shoulder into the chest of Lions tight end Charlie Sanders. The shot made Sanders go numb due to the sheer shock. But we can't finish the list without mentioning Jack Lambert, who could scare opponents with just a look. But Lambert had the game to go with his looks. His play style earned him the name Dracula in cleats. Lambert once said, "I believe the game is designed to reward the ones who hit the hardest." As a rookie in 1974, he started at middle linebacker, and in his very first game, he crushed the Colts. The game launched an 11-year reign of terror, but the hit that people outside of Pittsburgh remember him for wasn't even during a live play. It was Lambert slinging the Cowboys' Cliff Harris to the turf in Super Bowl X. Jack truly embodied what it meant to be a Steeler in the 70s and 80s and led the team to 4 Super Bowl victories and 6 seasons. Which one of these players are the most insane linebackers in your opinion? Let us know in the comments below. If you're new to this channel, click on the bell icon to be notified about our latest videos. And as always, stay tuned with NFL Insider.